Live from the home of Al Capone, Michael Jordan, and Deep Dish Pizza. Giving it to you straight from the horse's mouth. Unfiltered and restoring hope to the podcast universe. Gary Franchi.
Well, here we are once again on the G-Cast.
Here we are.
Wow, what a I'm pretty jacked up right now after what just happened moments ago.
It can happen at any moment.
Any moment,
That's
any
why
moment.
I get so nervous about it.
And yeah, I'm talking about like what's going on YouTube with all the coverage of the issues that are going on, the crisis, and videos getting pulled, friends getting, their entire livelihoods being taken by the Orwellian censorship that's taken place.
Total censorship.
All I do is I just had the page open, I check it, my Dr. Shiva interview, and I saw the gray screen, and I'm like, oh my goodness, did they pull the video? Because that's what it looks like when they pull the video. I'm like, are you kidding me? Another video? Like, and I checked it, and my heart's racing, and after what just happened to Lisa Haven this morning, I'm like, what? And thank God the video was still there. And you never know. You never know. You wake up one morning and, hey. So here we are.
Here we are.
In the free states of America, right?
Yeah,
we got a great show.
We shouldn't have to be living like that.
No, we should not. No one should. But we got a great show lined up today.
Yes,
I'm really excited. Really excited, Angie. Are you?
I am.
Even though I'm like literally shaking.
I know, baby.
Oh my goodness. And that's why we brought the bourbon with us today, because you never know when you're going to take a shot.
We've never taken a shot on air before.
On my other channel, though.
Oh,
on
yeah.
The Next News channel.
Yes, you have.
I think I polished off like a whole bottle of mango habanero once.
You had a good time.
And I pulled up the green screen, and I was dancing, and I was live streaming.
You're showing your true colors.
And we had that was back when we had like a couple 100,000 subscribers, so it was a little...
So you were celebrating.
I think we were celebrating the 100,000 mark or something. I don't remember, but...
Well, good for you. Yeah, you should be celebrating that.
Yeah, we had a good time. And then I think when we hit 1 million, we did that. I did that too. I popped a bottle of champagne, and before you knew it, I was like, uh-oh, Francie's drinking again.
Oh, well, see, you get a moment to do that. And then when you close it down here, you come upstairs, and either I'm waiting or the kids are waiting.
Yeah.
And it's time to put them to bed, and that's it. You get a few minutes.
So we've got a great show lined up today. Lauren Witzke will be joining us, and she's running for the Senate in Delaware.
Yes, and she's got a very interesting story.
Her story, just when I heard about it, I'm like, whoa, This is going to be great stuff. We're going to be talking about what she's doing in Delaware, but more importantly, how did she get to where she is right now?
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn about. I mean, we're talking about cartels, we're talking about drug trafficking, and like that dark underworld that no one really sees. She was there
Firsthand,
she saw that. We have also got, where are my opening topics? Here we go. Oh, armed protesters flooding the Michigan Capitol. We're going to talk about that for a moment.
Catch you up on that news.
Get up to speed. We've also got UFO footage from the Pentagon.
This was fun.
I
I haven't shown the kids yet. I'm a little afraid to.
The truth is out there.
Because they keep asking me, are aliens real? And what am I supposed to say? I'm still trying to convince them that the boogeyman is not under their bed.
Well, it's like, for me, like, okay, I see this footage and I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm, as a Christian, yes, I have my vices. Okay. Yes, I'm a Christian and I do have my vices. I understand. But
No judgment.
there will be a judgment day though. And yes, but as a Christian, I'm talking about UFOs. Like, where do UFOs fall in the Bible? Right. So how do I balance those 2 points? It's
do you know?
Well, I mean, the only way I can justify the existence of aliens, maybe they're like Nephilim, maybe they're like demonic entities that are actually invading, fallen angels that are taking the form of something else to deceive us. That's the only way I can sort of balance it in the Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to think that we're unique in the world, in the universe. Just like my beautiful bride is so unique. Oh.
So cheesy. I liked it, though.
We're going to talk about that UFO stuff in a minute. Also, Angie found a great story about Woodstock.
Woodstock.
What is it about, Angie?
69. Woodstock 69. Did you go to 99?
69, dude. What?
Did you go to Woodstock 99?
No, you were there, I guess, right?
I certainly was.
Yeah.
I didn't miss that opportunity.
Yeah, you were a little freak.
No, I was
From what
not.
I understand.
I checked out way before
Yeah?
madness went down.
What were you wearing? What were you wearing then? What were you wearing at Woodstock? What were you wearing, Angie?
You're such a little brat.
What was it? Just a what? You can say it.
A bandana.
You just wore one bandana covering your precious parts. You had pants on though, right?
I did, Gare. Jeez.
Man, I would love to see that.
I didn't want any pictures beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wearing a lot more than some were, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bandana.
Just a bandana.
You'll have to show me what that was like later.
I still had it. I mean,
Yeah?
I don't know where it is now.
Can you show me that later? Maybe just put the bandana on. And we'll just... Yeah, I know. Okay. We're going a little far here.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's getting hot in here.
Woodstock occurred in the middle of a pandemic. That's what we're going to be talking
Yeah.
about. The flu pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting details to this that we can compare to
Yeah.
what happened then versus now, the deaths, the totaling of...
Yeah. Really interesting parallels on how they handle things back at the Woodstock time and how they're handling things now.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the armed protesters, Michigan's an open carry state.
It is.
There's
Recognize that one, folks, before you continue.
and nobody was threatened. Nobody was shot.
No.
And if you think about like the difference between people who are striving and fighting for freedom, using their right to assemble, they're doing it peacefully. When you see like constitutionalist patriots doing it, they are not throwing, newspaper bins through a Starbucks window. They're not setting limousines on fire, right?
What was that all about?
I don't know. I think people were a little triggered after the election, and Washington D.C. was a war zone,
It was.
like so many other cities.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So you contrast these two types of protests, and you can tell, like what happened in was it Virginia? Virginia.
Yes.
The protests about the Second Amendment there, and what Governor Blackface is doing. Oh yeah, that guy's a dirtbag. What Governor Blackface was doing to take people's gun rights away. It's like, man, you don't mess with Americans' guns. You don't do that.
No, they will certainly
And people showed
show
up
up.
in force, fully loaded. Like they were carrying their ARs like wide out in the open. I mean, it looked like the straight militia had descended.
It was intense. The pictures I saw were very intense.
But everybody was peaceful,
Everybody was peaceful.
and they nobody was shot. In contrast to what you see with like an Antifa protest.
Completely different.
People getting bashed
my
over the head.
opinion.
People getting bashed over the head with bike locks.
They're very aggressive, and they come there fully intended on causing, violence.
And the police do nothing. They let them burn the cities down. They let them beat people to a bloody pulp. Trump supporters wearing a MAGA hat, they get beat down.
They scare me.
And but you have something go on in Michigan. People show up. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside Michigan State Capitol in Lansing as the legislature considered a measure to extend Governor Gretchen Hitler's state of emergency declaration. The House of Representatives voted down an extension of the order, but Whitmer claimed she has broad authority to continue the lockdown regardless. It's kind of like what happened here in Illinois.
How so?
Well, Governor Fatboy, what did he do?
He extended.
You look at me like, oh, come on, man.
No, I'm not. Pritzker's not my favorite.
No.
But hey, his family gets to leave quarantine, so we got to give him a pass, Gare.
Well, remember his family went down to
Yeah,
their Florida estate.
Got
their
busted.
Equestrian estate on their private jet. Mm-hmm. And regular Illinoisans are not allowed to travel unless it's essential. And when the governor was asked about it,
He didn't like that very
oh,
much.
what a dirtbag. He's like, how dare you?
He did not want to be asked. He felt that politics and family should not be mixed.
How dare you ask me about my family? Don't you know it's off limits? No, dickbag. Sorry. No, buddy. No. It's not off limits because what you're doing is going against your own orders.
You're enforcing and you're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
You're sending such a mixed signal message.
So with respect to what Pritzker did, he said, I'm going to extend the order. And then someone sued him, and they put a block on it.
That was wild.
Yeah. And now there's another lawsuit pending so the first lawsuit was just about one individual pushing back.
It was not for the entire state. It was one individual who sued him.
And it laid down the precedent for the second lawsuit to be applied for the entire state. Now, the first judge said it was unconstitutional. And he thinks he has broad power just like Whitmer does, excuse me. So these governors think they have, that's why there's a 30-day, you can declare a state of emergency, it goes for 30 days, and then it has to go to the legislature for them to vote, for the people to vote. That's what the point of a republic is.
Right.
Let the people vote. And then if you can make a compelling case to the legislature, keep it open or shut it down.
Do you think he saw it coming? Like, could he have imagined in his wild dreams that someone would take him to task and be like, nah, you're not going to do this to me?
Do I think that he thought so?
Do you think he was going to obviously get away with this?
Of course he did. No, these governors think they have ultimate power. Now, the 10th Amendment says that anything that has not been specifically enumerated powers to the federal government fall back to the states and then what? The people. So he thinks he has ultimate authority, but he forgets the second part of the 10th Amendment where the people have the authority. And that's where it comes back to the legislature.
Do it again, Gary.
Boom! The legislature, the people.
I told you.
We the people, y'all.
Gary Franchi banned in all 50 states.
Is it time to start drinking yet? Okay, so... Oh, my God. Okay, can we cue up that UFO footage? Should we
the video game?
It looks like a video game, right?
It does.
You want to watch it?
Yeah.
You wanna see it? Look at that.
Dude, this is on, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating. Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger, there's troubleshooting, shooting like it. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that.
Wow. That's remarkable. That is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, especially hearing their reaction to it. They're like, wait, what is that? What?
You've got something on your mouth right there. What is that?
Little coffee?
Other side? Oh, that's the coffee.
Oh, it's my whipped coffee.
That's whipped coffee. You were talking about that. We're gonna tell everyone about the whipped coffee in a moment. But they just released that. That's from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
So
they released it because it was going around and people were saying that it was not real news.
Right. Well, they said it was fake. They said it was like fake video footage. Someone had doctored up something. It's a big hoax. It's being passed around. So the Pentagon's like, nah, aliens are real.
I didn't expect that one.
Yeah. That was unexpected. Mark Hamill said, the funny thing is how people responded on Twitter. Can you pull up that NDI shot right there? Mark Hamill says, that's no UFO, that's a TIE fighter. There's Mark Hamill's response. And other people, here, how can we make 2020 more interesting during this pandemic? The Pentagon, hold my beer. Aliens exist.
Just throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
They have to stay away. We got the coronavirus.
If aliens come to Earth during the lockdown, sorry, Earth is closed today. Okay. So, I think that was pretty wild that they went ahead and released the footage, though.
I mean, how much more footage could there be?
Pull up the Woodstock article, because I want to
here.
make sure you get that. We get it in this block here. Tell us about it. And it's from Jeffrey Tucker.
Jeffrey Tucker, a friend
That's
of
so
ours.
awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that guy in a long time.
This is a piece that he wrote.
You can drop the NDI shot.
Jeffrey's talking about how during the 1968 flu pandemic during Woodstock, he says, in my lifetime, there was another deadly flu epidemic in the United States. The flu spread from Hong Kong to the United States, arriving December of 1968 and peaking a year later. It ultimately killed 100,000 people in the U.S., mostly over the age of 65, and 1 million worldwide. Wow.
This is from the American Institute for Economic Research.
Nothing closed. Schools stayed open. All businesses did too. You could go to the movies. You could go to bars and restaurants. John Fund has a friend who reports having attended a Grateful Dead concert. In fact, people have no memory or awareness that the famous Woodstock concert of August 1969 actually occurred during a deadly American flu pandemic that only peaked 6 months later.
So basically, Woodstock occurred,
Everything
mass
continued.
gathering, everything was wide open, and there was, in the middle of a flu pandemic, nothing closed, schools stayed open, businesses too. You could go to the movies, bars, restaurants, and this is all in the middle of a pandemic. Stock markets didn't crash, Congress passed no legislation, Federal Reserve did nothing. The media covered the pandemic, but it never became a big issue. Absolutely stark contrast to what we're seeing today.
That just blows my mind.
Doesn't it? Yeah. It blows my
What
mind
will
too.
be the story after we get past this?
Well, I think we're going to find out. You compare the two times. But we have to make sure that everybody's aware. I'm glad you found that article. I really am glad.
It was just my luck.
It was right before we started the show, and you're like, "God, we got to change the story. This is even better."
Yeah, I'm glad I found it too, and especially from Jeffrey Tucker. It's good to see his name again and his input.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, no surfers were arrested, no daycares were shut, even though there were more infant deaths with the virus than the one we are experiencing now. Okay. No suicides, no unemployment, no drug overdoses. It's
remarkable.
And right now, our suicides are up, mental illnesses are up, people are experiencing anxiety, depression,
Because they're
child
locked. They're locked in their houses.
Yeah.
And you got people like Gretchen Whitmer and Pritzker trying to extend these orders. I think they're just trying to strong arm Trump to keep the economy in shambles.
I totally agree with you on that. Completely.
So we've got, in the next segment, we will be joined by Lauren Witzke. Now, she operated at the highest levels, trafficking for the Detroit Drug Cartels, and then radically turned her life around and is now poised to win a Senate seat in Delaware against Christopher Coons. And there's actually like an MS-13 connection. There's a China connection.
I can't wait to hear her story.
Yeah,
I'm really glad she's joining us today.
We're going to get into all the details in just a minute. Actually, in 3 minutes. We'll be right back on the G-Cast with our special guest.
The G-Cast will be right back after this short break from our sponsors.
Welcome back, everybody.
And the G-Cast After Hours is back.
Whoa, we're back.
Whoa, that was quick. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight.
We want to talk real quick. Angie, you made this really cool coffee. We got our guest is coming up.
Yeah,
Our guest
because we
is
want to
coming up.
talk with Lauren. But real quick, we want to talk about Franklin's Finest. I think everybody has heard about whipped coffee right now.
Is that the thing?
It's
Whipped
like
coffee?
the thing. If you're in quarantine and not much is going on, you may have heard about whipped coffee. So
I know about bulletproof coffee, which is pretty awesome stuff.
it's
Actually.
pretty wild, yeah. But whipped coffee is so easy. You take instant coffee, so I used ours, and 2 tablespoons of hot water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, over a cup of iced milk. And you whip up the instant coffee with the sugar.
You whip it up first.
Yes.
You whip it good?
I whip it good, Gary.
Crack that whip. Okay, keep going. Tell me more.
I can't.
It's I tasted it. It's really delicious, like a frappe.
It is. It's like a Greek frappe.
Yeah. I love frappe.
But yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. You just whip up the coffee, the sugar, and the hot water. Mm-hmm. And you pour it over your milk, and bam, it's delicious.
Yeah. And this is from Franklin's Finest. This is survival coffee. The website
We cracked open.
Yeah, we broke the shelf life here.
Heck yeah.
25-year shelf life. WakeUpWithGcast.com. You get like over 700 servings, 1 year supply for one individual for $97, and your purchase supports the program.
It's
You're listening to
non-GMO.
right now. Non-GMO.
It's quick, it's tasty, and it's good.
Yeah, it is delicious. I don't drink that much coffee. I'm an energy shot guy. I don't got time.
I
for
know.
that. But I like instant coffee because it's fast. I don't have time for this stuff to brew. I got
Never
work to
liked
do.
instant coffee. I'm not a big fan, but
But this is different for you.
it is good.
Yeah.
It has a good flavor.
And you're not just saying that to sell it. You actually believe it.
Do I look like I'm lying?
I can tell when you're lying, actually.
You brought me a cup of coffee. I had a migraine the other day, and you brought me this, and you're like, "How is it?" I'm like, "Good."
Good stuff.
Anyway,
So
our guest today is poised to win a Senate seat in Delaware against Christopher Coons. If you don't know who Coons is, he's this guy.
cue the GIF.
There he is.
Oh,
He's the guy
Is
to
the-
the left.
the GIF is not moving. How do we make the GIF move? He's the guy on the left side.
That is the... That's all right.
Yeah, you click the button.
But
and
this
it
is who
works.
he is. This is Christopher Coons right there. That is his daughter. Well, Creepy Joe.
Here, the document
near
says
her.
GIF. So I will open up the GIF, and now you can see it yourself. There he is. That's what it looks like. Oh, Creepy
Oh,
Joe.
you had to share that.
There he is. Okay, so if you look at Coons on the left, he's like, yeah, Biden's sniffing and smelling my daughter. My daughter's freaking out.
That poor thing.
He's like, I'm offering up my daughter for you. Ugh. Just let me stay in the Senate, Joe.
Oh, no.
That's about to change. Okay? That's about to change. Lauren, welcome to the show. You're going to change it.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us, Lauren.
So,
Hi,
Lauren,
thank you so much for having me.
I'm pointing
How
at your
much
question.
caffeine have you had
I haven't
today?
had any. I'm like,
My
that's,
husband
there you
is
go.
just
I'm
a
trying to like be the
wild
director
cat
here.
today. Yeah, Lauren, you have such an interesting story. Your journey here. Can you tell us more about how you came to the point where you are now? A little bit about your background.
Okay, so you want me to start at the top?
Absolutely.
Your
Okay,
life journey. Your
so-
life journey, yeah.
All right, sure. Okay, great. So I grew up in Delaware. I'm born and raised
Well-
in Delaware.
Actually, no, we're jumping ahead of ourselves here because I'm reading the points
Okay.
wrong. It's okay. She's giving me the look like, oh, come on. No, we want to get to your life journey. But before we get into the life journey, because that's the really like juicy stuff, we want to talk about your becoming a senator in Delaware. What is the process and where are you at in that?
Okay, so we launched back in January. The campaign's going really well. Despite coronavirus, we are trying our best to kind of maneuver the waters with this. We've had to go online. We lost a lot of our ground game. In order to be a candidate on the ballot here in the state of Delaware, you have to pay a big fee. There's no petitioning, nothing like that. It's just a big fee. We're about 1 week away from our goal. And so far, it's just going really well. The support has been overwhelming. I think people are sick and tired of, like, Chris Coons has allowed Joe Biden to make a laughing stock out of Delaware over and over and over again. And he said nothing. And, we need good representation in Delaware that is a proper representation of Delaware. And I think the people are just sick and tired of not having their voices heard. So far, we are about 1 week away from our goal. We're still raising money. It kind of got a little messed up with coronavirus.
What's the goal?
We do not have
Is it
the
a
goal?
signal? Yeah.
Yeah. So the goal is it's about $11,000. So we had a great first quarter. However, we have expenses, I have staff I have to pay and stuff like that. So I want to make sure I have a little bit of cushioning before I feel comfortable signing that check. So, and signing it over to the Department of Elections.
So you actually have to pay the Department of Elections just to get on the ballot?
I think it is. Yeah, it's a big fee and you have to pay them. They don't do petitioning. They don't do anything like that. It's just, you have to pay a certain amount to get on the ballot. That's
really interesting that they don't do petitioning. Most states, I've been in the political game for a long time and ran a super PAC, but to actually have to pay to get on the ballot rather than going out, doing the groundwork, getting people's signature, pressing the flesh, talking to folks, like that's really what campaigning is. But hey, raise 11,000, get on the ballot. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Seems like
yes.
Seems like it sort of takes the personal elements out of campaigning.
Right. Yep, it sure does. And, I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. So I would have preferred to have to petition and talk to people and get them to, show their support and signing up for my campaign. However, it's just not the way things are here. So we're working hard to raise it and we're working hard to keep campaigning even through this coronavirus.
Well, and what's interesting too is that the petitioning process helps you gauge where you stand with the people, Right. Because you can actually have the interaction. So you have to find that interaction. You have to gauge that support in another way. How are you gauging that support if you're not out there getting signatures?
Well, right now, as soon as we launched, people were overloading our website trying to sign up to volunteer. So we've recruited over 100 volunteers so far. Our meet and greets, we had to start booking big venues because so many people started showing up. We weren't able to do them at people's houses. So people are coming out in droves to support. People are coming out in droves to volunteer. And, a lot of the money I raise, I don't have big corporate PACs behind me. However, a lot of my money has been grassroots support. The $5 here, the $5 there. I just have so much, people are just giving what they can. And, it's the individual small contributions that really show that you're show your validity as a candidate and that you have that support behind you.
So how is the Chinese Rona actually affecting the process? You mentioned that it is, but what specifically? Like you talked about having to get big venues. Not anymore. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we were hosting venues in every county. We have 3 counties in Delaware. It's a small state. And we were having to rent out churches or rent out big party rooms in order to accommodate all the people. But that's how I got my messaging out as well. And that's how I talked to the families and to the voters and shared my message. And at first, when we first launched, we were booking them like crazy. And now that was my ground game. I worked for Trump Victory, so I'm a ground game grassroots campaigner through and through. So this is, it kind of inhibits me because that's how I put my work in, is being out on the ground, talking to people, getting the people together, getting them motivated and getting them excited about what's coming, with these upcoming elections. And, it's hard being separate from the people, but I still try to remain accessible. I have a live stream. I do live streams like 3 times a week, and I have a great viewing. People in Delaware have been very supportive. They've been engaging and asking questions. And, I'm interesting too. Like my story is interesting. People are engaging, and it's great. It's been wonderful.
It sounds like you're doing an incredible job out there.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to get into that story. I'm really excited to hear it. I've only heard like elements of it, but now we're going to get the real story. And I want to point out also for our viewers and listeners who are watching, we will include links to Lauren's campaign website and her social properties down in the description, so you can go and explore those if you want to support her. It sounds like she's right on the cusp of hitting that number she needs to get on the ballot there, which is really wonderful. So if you want to be a part of that, you can just hit the links below, and you will help flip Delaware from blue to red. So when we come back, we're going to discuss the life journey that has brought her to this point. We're going to talk about how it has formulated her political views and platform. So it's incredible. It'll probably be made into a movie one day.
I could see that.
Yeah. So
I could see that happening.
And we're also going to talk about without her family even knowing, she was addicted to drugs and involved at the highest levels of trafficking for the Detroit Drug Cartels. That's scary stuff, man. And also the connection to MS-13, how China was involved. This is gonna go like international. This is wild. But most importantly, how we're gonna find out how she got out of it, like how she flipped her life around, and that's what I really want to learn. So, friends watching right now, sit back. You got 3 minutes. Grab a snack, grab a beverage. Take a shot, get some bourbon, light up a cigar, whatever it is you do, and keep watching the G-Cast. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
We've gotta pay a few bills over here, so sit tight, and the G-Cast will return in a few moments. Time to return to the G-Cast with your host, Gary Franchi.
And we are back. I think this is where you come in. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Our notes are a little bit different today, and we tried to
You're having
assign And sometimes I get ahead of myself, you know,
It's
I'm like,
okay.
and I'm like, honey, go.
I know.
And
and
you're like-
I'm the one who's drinking caffeine.
And then you look at me like,
Welcome back,
okay,
you guys. You have to deal
I'll
with
let you
us
take it.
again.
Take it away,
Oh, my
Angie.
Lord, have mercy.
take it away.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. Lauren, welcome back. Okay, now we're ready to dive into your backstory. We only know the general part of things, but how you got here and from where and what we want to hear. Can you take us all the way back to your childhood? What was your home life like? And growing up, what was all that like?
Okay, so I was raised by a great family. My mom and dad are awesome. I have a brother and an adopted little sister as well. And, you know, I grew up going to good schools. I was homeschooled for a little while and went to private school. And then I ended up going to our local public high school and playing sports. So I was an athlete. Like, that's like just what I was. I went to college on a full athletic scholarship after that. You know, just circling back to that, addiction, it doesn't discriminate at all. You know, like I had my entire life set out before me. I had every opportunity for success, and, you know, it still found me. After I graduated from college, I got a job working for a pharmaceutical company. And,
So
you know,
before you go into that, what was the drug? What were you addicted to?
So I was eventually, by the end, I was addicted to methamphetamine and heroin.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So went all the way. So when I graduated from college, I got a job working with a pharmaceutical company. And that's kind of where I bought into the lie that there's a drug to fix anything. So I was no longer playing sports. I lost my identity, because I was known as the successful athlete all my life. And then when you're too old to play, and that was what your identity was in, you're just like, okay, so what's next? So I was trying to figure out where I fit in with the world. So I started partying. I started drinking a lot. I started taking pain pills and Adderall. It's how I started, you know, because everybody else was doing it. And as we were taught, there's a drug to fix everything. If you have depression, there's a pill for that. Even if you have addiction now, there's apparently a pill for that too, which is crazy. But so it just kind of progressed. I was able to maintain my addiction to pain medication for you know, a few months. I did, you know, a couple of years, actually. I was able to still hold a job. I was able to still go to work and hold an apartment. However, I was introduced to heroin in the city of Wilmington.
You were taking pain medication. What
Yes.
was the pain medication? Which
I think it was Percocet. Yeah, it was Percocet, and then it progressed to Oxycontin. Actually, I remember seeing the marketing in the pharmaceutical, in the doctor's offices that pharmaceutical companies were putting out that it was not addictive, actually. So here I am addicted to Percocets, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, Oxycontin's not addictive. I'll start taking that instead. And it just got worse. And I mean, it was 10 times worse. I shouldn't have been taking it anyway. I'm not going to say any excuse. However, it just goes to show the lie that they sell you is that, okay, at what cost? At what cost too? The clinical data is manipulative. We were taught as pharmaceutical reps to manipulate these doctors to believe our clinical data, which was not really, it's a very profit over people driven industry as well, and I just associated with the people that worked there and everybody else was doing it. So I did it too. And that's just kind of what went along with losing my identity altogether.
So
from there,
so while you were a pharmaceutical representative, everybody's there taking Oxycontin and it's a big party, right? At the pharmaceutical company.
Well, I wouldn't go as far to say that everybody is doing Oxycontin.
Right.
But however, it is, I was one of them. Yes.
Wow.
But it was presented, you mean it was presented as the norm, like it was okay. This was something that was told to treat you and make you feel good, right?
Right. Yeah. And,
That's
and since I was so manipulative, I was taught to be manipulative. I was able to manipulate doctors into writing whatever I wanted. And it was, it just came with the whole industry altogether.
Wow. And so it escalated from there, from the painkillers all the way up to meth and heroin. How did you make the jump to that? Were you injecting it or were you snorting it? I mean, I have friends who are dead now because they've overdosed. lives have been completely destroyed by heroin. I've seen it firsthand. Even when I was in high school, we saw heroin creeping in, and I saw what it was doing to people. I never touched the stuff, but I watched my friends just decay. And then I saw people mainlining heroin, and I mean, I never actually witnessed it because I'd never want to be around it. But when they were out of heroin, they would go and they would try to find stuff at the drugstore, and they would mix up their own little concoctions and start injecting stuff from the drugstore.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's how bad they got, and they were stealing from. I mean, it's just horrible. So, were you mainlining or?
Right. So,
yeah,
like
I guess
I said, I was able to maintain a job when I was just taking pain pills. I was able to maintain my apartment and have my car. One night I was introduced to heroin. I started IV drug using heroin. And I mean, within a matter of weeks, I lost everything. Heroin is the most destructive. It is the most captivating, like I said, destructive drug. And once it grabs a hold of you, it doesn't let go. And, it gives you this initial euphoria, but that euphoria fades and it is just destruction. And then you're trapped in this hole that you can't dig yourself out of. So I mean, it is such an evil, dirty drug that nobody likes to talk about. However, it's very real and it's affecting people. It's affecting, your friends that you see it all the time. And it's, we hit a record number. I think we had 70,000 overdoses just last year. Why aren't we talking about this?
Mm-hmm. I think they call it, what do they call it? Chasing the dragon. I think that's how they referred to it, is when they're always going, because the first time they did it, they got the first high was so intense for them that they're always chasing that first high, but you can never get that first high back. And then it just keeps clawing at you. The dragon keeps clawing at you and dragging you back in. But the fact that you were able to pull yourself out of it and where you are today, that's the miracle story.
That is incredible that you were able to do that.
Thank you.
And now, you go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, well, it was a process. Recovery, especially addicts, they want to fix. No, recovery was long, it was hard, and it was a process. But that's why I believe in recovery. I believe it works. However, I don't believe in quick fixes either.
No, especially with something like that. I've had friends who, some have survived it, and I've lost friends to heroin as well. Were you scared at any point?
I was not at first. At first, you feel invincible, to the point where I started not being able to get out of bed to go to work, realizing, I remember waking up and saying, like, I'm never going to be able to stop. Like, how am I going to stop? Like, I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. I couldn't stop. And, it's terrifying when you're facing that and you're in that hole and you don't see a way out.
So there's a connection, though, to the drug cartels. So take us inside that, because here you are, athlete, and you're kind of you're hiding the addiction. You realize that it's got a hold of you, but how did they recruit you? What was your role with them, and how did that how do we get there?
Okay, so after I had lost my pharmaceutical job, I stopped showing up to work. I lost my car. I lost my apartment. I ended up down in Tennessee. I ended up walking out of a rehab early, staying down there, working in a restaurant.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. You said you lost your car, you lost your apartment. Now, I know one of my friends actually stole his parents' car and sold it for crack rocks. Is that something? Did you lose it because you flipped the car for drugs, or is it because it was repossessed, or what was the case there?
No, at the time it was a company car, so I turned it back in. Yeah,
okay.
I turned it back in, and I just told them I can't do this. Like I can't work. I'm completely incapable of working. I think they probably are confused what happened too, because my numbers were really good, but then all of a sudden I just stopped showing up, and I couldn't pull myself out of bed. I was hopelessly addicted. So I gave it all back, and I realized I needed to get help. I felt like it was something I could fix quickly. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go away for a couple of weeks. I'll be able to handle this, fix this, get a hold of this, and then I'll be good to go. So I went down to Tennessee. I didn't move. I went down to Tennessee and I went down to a rehab down there. It was a great rehab. But after a few weeks, I felt like I was like, okay, I got this. I don't need to stay here. I'm fine. So I walked out and I ended up getting a job at a restaurant. I was just waiting tables and down in Tennessee. And there was a girl that worked there. She was a hostess. She was a little Latina young girl, and we became friends. And, it started off, I just started selling weed for her, just low level drugs. And then it progressed eventually to, I was working for her family. Like, it turns out like she was like the daughter of some big drug lord. And she, before I knew it, I was back using heroin again. I'm selling heroin for them. I'm selling methamphetamine for them. I'm transporting drugs from Detroit down to Tennessee. I'm transporting people from Detroit down to Tennessee. I'm meeting their people. And you're just engulfed all the way in. I started smoking methamphetamine to stay awake for days at a time, so I could continue working and driving and, working for them. And there I was again. I found myself completely, hopelessly addicted, no way out. And it was a really dark time. And it's, it was terrifying too, but the things you see, the things that you experience, I learned a lot. However, I also knew that there was no way out unless I submitted to the process of recovery as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is very real. We have, it's kind of what I've kind of based a lot of my platform off of. The people that I worked for, these Mexican cartels that I worked for, they were here completely legally. There's issues in our migration system that need to be addressed for sure, because we don't really know who we are allowing into this country. I know they would sell laced drugs to my friends that would kill. They knew that they would kill them and they didn't care. They wouldn't think twice about selling laced drugs to Americans. Because they see us as disposable. They saw me as disposable, very disposable. And that's just the way they view us. And it was just, you see a lot of things. I know that they steal people's identities. Like, okay, when you're an addict, the money always runs out. Well, these cartels, what they will offer you is, hey, if you give us your ID, your license, or your birth certificate, or your social security card, we'll give you $500 worth of drugs. So that's also another way that they are able to actually take Americans' identities in exchange for feeding their addiction and selling them more drugs. So I also know that, I find it very interesting that fentanyl is manufactured in China. People also need to understand that methamphetamine and heroin are not manufactured in the United States. You may hear about some meth labs that are exploding here and there. That's American people trying to cook meth in their oven. That's not real Mexican meth. It's not the real thing. That is manufactured in Mexico, and it's brought in through Central America. And it's brought here up through California, Washington State, across through Detroit, and brought in and dispensed across the country. They utilize the inner cities, the gangs within the inner cities to dispense their drugs for them. And it's just, it's terrifying because you look at this and it's a problem. It's affecting everybody. Americans are getting addicted and they're ruining their lives. And it's become hopeless. It's become a giant mountain that we need to tackle.
It's remarkable that you've been able to get past your past and are here with us now as a warning and letting people know what is really going on.
I'm listening to this story and I'm just like, oh my goodness,
what you've been able to overcome is just tremendous.
Well, because I compare what she's saying to my own experience with drugs and my friends growing up, and I don't think my friends ever got to the level that she did, and how running drugs from Detroit down into Tennessee and back and forth. Now I understand there's an MS-13 and a China connection. Like, how does that all tie into this?
Well, the drugs that they're bringing in are laced. A lot of them, we had a mass, I think it was 37,000 of the 70,000 overdoses last year were fentanyl induced. It's because they're lacing the fentanyl with their heroin because it's cheaper. It is way more potent. However, the overdoses that are caused by it, they don't care because it's cheaper and it's more profit for them. So I'm not really sure how it gets from China to Central America. However, it is mixed. That fentanyl, which came from China, is mixed in that heroin and brought in through Central America. I also know that a lot of the Detroit gangs that I worked for would order their drugs online from China. There are these pills called Opanas, and they were fentanyl created pills. They weren't the real deal, but they were these fake pills that were created in China and shipped over. And we were able to order them online and have them mailed to the United States, to Detroit, and then they bring them down to Tennessee and sell them to the populace there. There's definitely a fentanyl racket, something going on with them. I'm not really entirely sure.
Through the mail? Through the U.S. Postal Service?
I guess so. I don't know if they still have that going on because I've been out of the game for a couple years. So I'm not really sure if you're still able to order them online. However, there was a website. You could just go right online. You could order fentanyl lollipops. You could order fentanyl pills, fentanyl candy, and it would just come right to your door.
I think that's what ended up killing one of my friends. Was he had a bad batch of heroin, and it had fentanyl in it, I believe, because there's a lot of bad drugs going around Chicagoland, and he was talking about getting sober, and he was so excited, and then we find out that he was found, I think, by his brother in a bathroom stall, dead. Oh God, so sad.
Yeah,
so sad.
And it's the most tragic thing. I think it is we talk about the coronavirus and the pandemic. However, the opioid epidemic has been the biggest tragedy that has ever hit the United States. And it has been something that has been neglected by the media. People don't want to talk about it. Our politicians don't want to talk about it because I understand it's a dirty subject. It's a painful subject to talk about, especially when you have loved ones and friends and family who are addicted, because you watch these people turn into something that they never were, and it's the drugs, and they grab hold of you and they don't let go. And it's something that it causes a lot of shame. I had to overcome so much shame from the life I lived. And, but you hear about it. It happens to the poverty level person all the way up to the politician. It does not discriminate. It can affect you, and it will affect your families. And we have to do something about these people who are bringing in these drugs into this country, because they are not manufactured here in the United States. We are not feeding these drugs to ourselves. They are brought here by people who see us as disposable. And, it's scary. But somebody has to say something. Somebody has to do something. So that's why I'm fighting.
Thank you. Thank you for fighting, and thank you for being so honest with your story. During this time, what was your family? How were they feeling about what was going on with you, or did they know?
Okay, so my parents knew that I was off and on struggling. At the time, I don't think they knew, because I was down in Tennessee. I kind of fled away from them because, that shame creeps in, and I didn't want to put them through that. So I fled. I stayed down there, and they didn't know I was running the drugs back and forth. They didn't know who I was working for. They didn't really know the situation. However, they found out later. I was picked up. I had been up for 3 days. I had just done a delivery in Detroit, was on my way home. I was a block away from my house, and I fell asleep at the wheel. And I was picked up by the police. Yeah. And I had to face myself really quick. I had that moment where I'm like, oh my gosh. And you're laying in that jail cell and you're like, how did I get to this point? I never expected myself to get here. Like, how did I allow this to happen? And it's, it's the darkest time, but it was at that point where I realized, I'm like, my God, like, no more, I'm not going to continue this anymore. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was next. So my parents actually called me afterwards, and they were like, listen, we can get you into a program. We heard about this program. It's supposedly really great. And I told them I don't need it. So, of course. So, yep. And, here I am sleeping on a dirty mattress in a house with no electric down in Tennessee. And, it was like, I don't know how else to explain it. It was after Donald Trump was elected. There was a shift in the atmosphere, and like the Lord began to minister to my heart. Amen. And he called me to politics. And at the time, I'm like, you're crazy. Like, there's absolutely no way you could call somebody like me. I was so dirty. I was so guilty. And yet he still called me. And so, but I finally submitted to the process of recovery. And I went into a program called Teen Challenge, which is one of the programs I'm fighting for also here in my campaign. So Teen Challenge is a year-long program. It is long, it is hard, and it is faith-based. So I was able to go there and kind of separate myself from the situation I was in. I just fled. I left all my clothes. I left all my furniture. I left all my belongings there, and I just left it all behind. And, I just pursued recovery, and I pursued God in his heart, and it changed me. And so, yeah, quite a story.
The Lord, he says, pick up your mat and walk with me. And your story is like hearing how you heard the Lord, you saw him pulling you out of the situation. I mean, there are points in my life I can point to, and I can say, this is definitely the hand of the Lord moving me out of a situation and bringing me into a better situation. And it's the Lord really works. He's really true, and he sees what's going on, and he knows how to use us. Even though we're impure vessels, like our righteousness. Oh man, I'm getting all broken up over here. Our righteousness, no matter what we do, is as filthy rags before the Lord. There's nothing we can do, but thankfully through his grace and his mercy, we are saved. Through his resurrection, we're saved, and we are delivered because of what he did. And man, I'm preaching now, and just to hear how you went from such a dark place to where you are now. I mean, you have such a story, and we got to go to a break now, and I want to jump into what's next, because you're going to be, Lord willing, and I believe that if the Lord has pulled you from one position, he can put you into another. There's no question about it. I've seen it. I'm walking, talking situation like that. So I want to talk to you about this Senate run, taking a position there, and you're going to go after the very network that you were once involved with. And also, one thing, and I'm kind of dragging on here for a minute. You mentioned Teen Challenge, and I'm familiar with that organization, Lauren. Because years ago when I was young, it was an organization I was looking at to help me in some of my times of trouble. I never went through with it because it is pretty intense. I mean, I was scared of that organization. Like, I called them up and I looked at their organization, and then they were gonna fly me out to, I think there was a place in Hawaii. I was like, wow, I'm gonna go and live in Hawaii for a year. Like, that's gonna be awesome. But I didn't, like, the more I thought about it, the more I just totally backed out, because I realized, it's not going to be all beaches and sunshine. You're actually going to be doing some work for these guys. And I ended up backing out of it. But I'm aware of the organization. I'm glad that you're working to support them. So I want to get back on the other side of this break, because you have a very unique perspective as a politician. And, of course, with the involvement in the drug dealing and the trafficking, and with Congress, President Trump going after the opioid crisis, you are definitely poised to be one of the standard bearers to resolve this crisis. And I think that we have some really good conversation ahead in this next break. So can you stick around for another segment?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so when we come back, let's talk about how you view things from a recovery perspective and the core issues that you are addressing, and how you plan to fix what you saw was broken through your campaign. So we're going to be back on the other side. I'm Gary, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Angie, and we're here on lockdown talking with Lauren. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. Gary Franchi will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the G-Cast.
And we are back on the G-Cast.
Oh, welcome back, everybody.
Our guest right now, we're talking with Lauren Witzke, and she is running for the Senate seat of Delaware. She's going to take it from Chris Coons. And her story, Lawrence, your story is so amazing, especially the point that you were straight up in the darkness with the drugs. And Brian, your microphone is open again. But the part that really caught my attention was the fact that you said, "Hey, I did drugs, and I'm this is me. You're an open book. You're not afraid to talk about it." I mean, Barack Obama, he became president of the United States, and we know that he smoked rock. Okay, I met the guy who was in the limousine smoking rocks with him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That is a story I didn't know. Wow.
Well, you met him too. It was at the Republican National Convention in Tampa. He was at the house with us we stayed at, and we were hanging out there,
Goodness.
Yeah, he was
many,
there.
many years ago. That's why I don't remember.
Yeah, there are other things going on in that limousine besides smoking crack, that people have questions about, his manhood. No, seriously. No, this is not, I mean, the guy held a press conference. But I'm getting down a rabbit hole. But the other, like, who else? George Bush.
George Bush.
W. W liked the Chronic,
The Chronic.
He liked the Chronic. Bill Clinton.
Was it Bill Clinton? Yeah.
Bill Clinton, he never inhaled.
Never inhaled, yeah.
So we know that for a fact because Bill Clinton, he's a purist. He's a really good guy. So,
Yeah.
so Lauren, the point is like, you're
You
being open about
survived.
this, and you survived. You're moving forward.
You're using it for good. You're using your life experience to share with people, to explain to them, like, look, this is what's really going on. This is what's happening in our country right now. And you're
for sure.
You're pleading with people, please, I mean, what more can a human being do with their past than to use it to help another person, right? And I
Right,
think
for
that's
sure.
such an incredible gift that you're giving.
Thank you. Thank you. And also, you won't find a family in the state of Delaware who has not been affected by the opioid epidemic as well. It has just wrecked our state. And like I said, nobody talks about it. And it's something, that nobody likes to talk about either. So, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and share it, my story and my firsthand experience with it, and why it's so close to my heart as an issue.
Well, it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. I mean, I'm glad you're tackling it, and I'm glad you're using it for good. You're flipping it, right? You're flipping what the devil did. You're taking it with the power of Jesus Christ, our Lord, and you're going to win. I believe it in my heart, because whatever we agree in the Spirit, where 2 or 3 are gathered, and we agree in the Spirit, according to the will of God, it will be done. So we're gonna say that right now. We're gonna agree in the Spirit, and we're gonna ask the Lord to make that will be done. Because that's
right.
biblical.
And you're not the first person to say that either. I've had a lot of people say there's something about your race. There's something more there, because even when I stepped into it, I was like, okay, there is no way that I'm going to be able to win this without God in it. And it's just, he has opened all the doors that have I could have never opened for myself. Like even just the situation where I'm running for office and I'm able to run for office and run a successful campaign. Like it's just, God is so in it. He's so through it, and he's so real. He has such great plans for us. Like he loves us so much, and he hates, he does not like to see us sit in this brokenness. And, we can pull ourselves out of it. We can make America great again, and we can build something better for the next generation.
And I'm sitting here with a bottle of bourbon next to me and 2 shot glasses. It's like, I mean, the Lord did turn water into wine, so there was that whole thing. Right. We could talk about that later. But what about your platform? And
yeah, sure.
And what are Delaware and our nation's most pressing issues? And how do you plan to restore America? And you said you were with Trump victory for a time. So how do you intend to get that MAGA power working with you?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm running on a 10-year moratorium on all immigration, netting at 0, which means as people migrate out of the country, then we can replace people based on merit. Right now, a merit-based system does not currently exist. And as somebody who saw firsthand who is coming in here via chain migration, also I was like, okay, we have to create a merit-based system where these people can come through legally. However, we are able to evaluate who we have here, and not just opening our doors wide open to people who see Americans as disposable and are only here to take advantage of the value of our dollar, people that want to come here for our values and not our benefits per se. So I think that a 10-year moratorium is plenty of time for us to just turn off the spigot for a while and reform our immigration system and give us, I'm sorry?
I was going to say 10-year moratorium, that's pretty hardcore. I don't think I've ever heard a platform like that. And I mean, I know how the Senate works. I mean, do you think you can get enough people to sign on to something like that to get it pushed forward? I mean, that's a pretty strong platform just to start off.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So President Trump, actually, the words immigration moratorium just came out and are actually talked about now just last week. So, I also believe that President Trump has been obstructed a lot of the times when he has tried to make strides to help reform our immigration system. However, I'm all in. When I see an issue, I'm like, okay, we have to put a halt to it. Also, currently, 50% of American STEM graduates aren't working in their current field of study. We're mass migrating cheap foreign labor in exchange for jobs here and other people. But however, graduates here in America are having to compete for those jobs, and they'll work way longer for way less. And it makes it really hard on us to get jobs, get married, buy houses, have children. My generation is not getting married. They're not having children. They're not buying houses. They're not able to have any equity because right now, our society is broken. A lot of people end up hopeless and on drugs. And, it's just overall taking that time I call it an America First platform because America has serious issues now that we really need to address. And we have to have people and politicians who are bold enough to say, hey, this is a problem. This is where we're going unless something is done. So just even having that as a talking point for people has made impact. And, there are coalitions that agree and people that have my back on this. And, I know it may be tough to get other senators on board, but, I'm willing to step out there and try to fight for it.
And that's all. I mean, that's all it takes. If you're willing to go out and fight for it, and you can get the support. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having of a republic, is that the people are there. You petition for your ideas, and if the ideas are good, then people will vote for them.
Right.
So,
and it's not a moratorium on all immigration. It's netting at zero. So which will reduce the number from about 1.1 million to about 200,000, which is it's about the same numbers that we had in 1965 and the 1960s. So I think that that's very fair. Like when they say moratorium, it's not zero immigration, it's net zero immigration. So it reduces the number drastically to a fair number where we're able to allow current migrants to assimilate and also evaluate who we have coming in.
Wow. Well, you got it all figured out. When I heard moratorium, I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of scary. Like moratorium. Oh my goodness, they're going to lock it all down. No one's coming in, but no, it's not actually it's net zero, which is very different than actual moratorium. So, how can people support you?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Can I also say the one thing about my Teen Challenge platform, about my
go.
recovery?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So also, we need recovery solutions. Right now, we are pouring millions of dollars into methadone clinics, Suboxone clinics, 28-day programs that do not work. Recovery is a process. It takes time. It took me a whole year. However, I was able to do it through a program like Teen Challenge. Teen Challenge offers a steady, consistent 70% success rate since 1957 when it was birthed. So there's merit to that. There's validity in those results. So I am fighting for federal funding also so we can supplement what works and give people access, make it easier to access recovery solutions like Teen Challenge. And I want them to be able to have this money, but not have to change a thing. I want them to keep their accreditation, stay exactly the same, and just keep pumping out those successful numbers and just make it so they are able to pay their staff well. A lot of Teen Challenges are understaffed, underfunded, and I say let's supplement what works. So that's also a big part of my platform is not allowing the drugs to come here and then giving Americans a way to heal. So
give them a way to heal, yes, especially our young that are getting caught up in this. Lauren, it's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you for sharing your story and personal journey that led you to being with us here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want, before we go, because we're running out the clock here, and I want to make sure we get to the point. And like I said, people want to find out how people can support you exclusively. Yeah. Of course, we have links down below. People can click and go back to the goal again and how we can get people to help you. But you mentioned Team Challenge getting federal funding. Do they have any federal funding as it stands? Because I know that federal funding, there's federal funding for Planned Parenthood.
Right.
And that has a whole different outcome. And Teen Challenge is actually going to be restoring people and building them up and putting them out into the world empowered. So they don't have any federal funding currently?
No, they do not. And federal funding is an untapped resource, especially for programs like these. They're overlooked because they're faith-based. And I don't want them to be overlooked because you can't deny, most recovery centers, if they have a 30% success rate, that's excellent. Suboxone clinics have a 9% success rate for people who discontinue Suboxone after. We need real recovery solutions. 70% is nothing to pout about at all. And, they do not receive federal funding. They run solely on donations. They run solely on contributions. Our state has contributed a little bit. The funding is scant. However, I'd like to be able to federally fund them without them changing a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's got it down. She's got it down. No, she's good. No, straight up, she is good. She's got the points. She knows what she's saying. She knows what she wants. and it's resonating with the people of Delaware, and soon to be resonating with the people of the United States when she takes the floor. And I'm anxious to see that when you do take the floor, and I hope that I can get like maybe an invite. We can go hang out up and check. And your inauguration. Do they inaugurate senators? Is that what they do, or how does that work?
Well, actually, that picture that you showed Chris Coons and Joe Biden, that was Chris Coons' inauguration. So they do have them. Yeah. Okay. The one where, Joe Biden was kissing all over his daughter. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, Joe Biden will not be there.
Yes, yours will be much better.
Well, don't they do those things like in kind of like I believe they do it like sort of like, for lack of better words, like a meat grinder. They get all the new people coming in, and they just one after another, boom, 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 boom. Is that how it works?
I guess. I don't know. I think they may have like separate ones. I'm not really sure. I guess I should probably know that. I don't know everything.
You're going to find out, I think. Lord willing. So what's the website?
Oh, okay. So you can find me at www.laurenwitzke.com. Lauren Witzke is spelled Lauren. Witzke is Witzke. A way you can remember that is WI, tiger, zebra, kangaroo, elephant. Yeah. So
thanks, Lauren.
Awesome. Yeah. So please consider coming on my website and just contributing. Even $5 goes a long way. We are trying to get on the ballot by next week. That is our goal. So we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that has sewn into our campaign so far. And we're excited. It's going to be a great race. Keep an eye out on Delaware this year.
We will.
How has Coons reacted to you? Has he paid any attention to you at all?
Well, the only thing I know is that he is now really, really fighting for $3.6 billion for vote by mail. They know that our GOP is very disorganized. So if they are able to get vote by mail passed and the funding for that would be our death sentence. I'm pulling the unions over. I'm very pro-worker. I'm socially conservative, but I'm running on a pro-worker platform. Delaware is a labor state, and I'm pulling over those Democrats and I only have to flip, I think it's like 20,000 voters. And I'm already working the unions and pulling them over from the Democrat side. So it's going to be, he's scared. He knows I'm coming for him. And he does. And it's going to, I don't think he knew that when I first launched that I'm feisty. I'll fight. And, I'm looking forward to debating him. I can't wait. And it's going to be interesting. He knows I'm coming for him. That's for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is good stuff. I'm really glad that you took the time with us today.
Thank you.
All of our viewers who are watching right now, make sure you hit those links down below so you can stay up to date with Lauren's campaign, her social media, all the things she's doing, because we need to get more people like her, especially with a beautiful story, into the Senate. Real people,
real experience.
Mm-hmm. Not these career politicians who continue to milk the public dime for their entire life, and then they go ahead and they exploit the knowledge that they gain and these insider trading deals. And it's like, man, we got to get these people out. We got to drain that swamp. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Lauren, it's really been a pleasure talking with you today, and I really want to thank you for sharing your story, your personal journey that led you to the GCast.
Brought you right
Thank
here.
you.
Brought you right here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
We did too. Thank you.
All right, Lauren. Thank you so much. So all friends, the links are down below to all of Lauren's social media properties in the description. And I believe we have the link. Is the link on the screen here? Can we get it on the screen just for a moment? Do we have that graphic? If we don't, that's okay, because the links are definitely in the description. So go there, support Lauren's campaign however you can. And we're going to come back in 3 minutes. So you got time to refill that drink. We're going to close out the show. We're going to do a little decompression. And maybe we're going to hit this Bullet bourbon here. Some Bullet 95 rye. What is this?
Just
95 straight rye mash. Superior American rye. So we're coming back in just a moment.
Don't go anywhere. Gary Franchi will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the G-Cast.
Well, here we are, babe.
That was quite a story.
That was an incredible story. I'm really glad we got to learn more about Lauren. What an incredible life she has led. And now the way that she's giving back, that's really just going to stick with me. And I can't wait to learn more about what she's going to be doing. And I wish her the best of luck. Incredible.
Well, I think we should take a shot and cheers to her campaign.
Cheers to that.
And what's funny, I think, these shot glasses. One is from Washington D.C. I think I bought this in D.C. or something.
I mean, everyone has random shot glasses.
But the other shot glass here, I'm going to give you the D.C. shot glass, honey. And I can't wait to see Angie's face when she shoots this.
I don't. Are you supposed to shoot bulletproof? I thought you just make drinks with it.
Well, you can make drinks with it. You can sip it.
I usually, yeah.
Well, we're gonna shoot it because we don't have time to sip right now. We're on the closing of the show. But this shot glass, I don't know if everyone can see it. This is my Jekyll Island Club Hotel shot glass.
Did you just randomly pull these, or did you pull them?
No, I saw it up there. I'm
purpose?
like, I'm bringing the Jekyll Island shot glass
Okay.
onto the show. And our producer Brian was there when I got this shot glass.
Hey, Brian.
And the story behind it is we were there for. It was like what Brian? What was it called? It
Get
was
back
there
in
for,
his ear, Brian.
Yeah, now I want Brian to open his microphone. 2009. It was a meetup to find all the Patriots. Yeah. It was a meetup of all these patriots before Bob Schultz with the We the People Foundation would create the Continental Congress, a new version of it that was actually done when it eventually happened. It happened in this very town that we're in.
Yeah.
Some years ago. So a lot of weird, like.
That's a good story to bring up on another show for sure. I would love for you to share that story of your trip out there.
The Jekyll Island story?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the great stories that came out of that was the Patriots They took the flag from the pinnacle of the Jekyll Island Hotel.
Yeah.
They took the flag down and they replaced it with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Brian's got photos of that. Okay, we definitely need to.
Yeah,
bring
that's
that up.
really an amazing story. They climbed the roof of the hotel. They pulled the Jekyll Island banner down, and they lifted the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. It was sort of like a like
It was a victory moment.
well, when you have Jekyll Island, people may not know this, but the significance of Jekyll Island, that's where the Federal Reserve was born. And we actually had lunch in the room where the Federal Reserve was born. And we had this sort of like this reverse incantation kind of thing, a ceremony where we all signed a document and we vowed that we were going to work to end the Fed. And I was there with G. Everett Griffin and some of the greatest patriots of our time.
You guys are legit like Goonies out there.
It was pretty wild.
I love it.
And so we're sitting in this room, and that night everyone got really wasted. Like we were down in we were underneath the Jekyll Island Hotel. There's a bar. You have to go underneath the hotel. It's like a cellar, and we were just everyone was drinking, and then someone got the idea they were going to take the pennant from Jekyll Island and replace it with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. So really cool moment.
Great ideas are always, they usually come up when you've been drinking with good friends.
So this is the shot glass.
I'm having a shot because you drove me crazy tonight.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's quarantine love, baby.
Quarantine love?
Yeah.
With your bandana? Oh, yeah.
Cheers,
Do we get to have the
Franchi.
bandana? Can you show me what that was like?
Oh.
How do you tie a bandana around yourself?
It was easy.
Really? I mean, because bandanas are not very large. I mean, oh my goodness.
I got pictures.
Oh, yeah. You have pictures?
Heck yeah.
I think I have seen one of them. Oh, boy, here we go.
Cheers. From one rebel to the next.
To Lauren's campaign.
Absolutely.
And to changing America for the better.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Wow.
I feel like I'm a fire-breathing dragon. Woo!
That was good. Oh, it's got a little burn to it.
I'm going to chase it with my coffee.
Chase it with your coffee. Wow. So, I don't know where we go from here, but
We got something funny
we got
to
something
watch.
funny here.
Thank you guys for watching again.
Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you tell your friends. And pretty soon, I got to get all these things set up. But we're going to get this on Spotify. We're going to get it on iTunes. We're going to get it on Google Play. We're going to start the syndication process. But I just have to get these different accounts set up. So when that happens, you'll be able to find the GCast on all those platforms and take us with you as a podcast.
You'll be able to find us because of you. Thank you guys so much for keeping up with us and subscribing and commenting.
Well, right now there's like
sharing
17,000 subscribers, Angie.
I'm
17,000.
so cool.
Like there's like 100 to 200 people who are subscribing to this channel on YouTube every day, which is so cool. It's so exciting. I'm happy to see the growth.
I love it. I love that people can come to our channel and just kind of take a break with us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really enjoy. Take a break with us, learn something.
So, lighter, brighter side. Young
Because
reporter.
we need it. Let's close out the week with something cool.
Young reporter gets caught on a hot mic. This is the producer's choice.
All right, Jeremy.
Let's see what Jeremy has for us.
Yes.
Oh man, I need a fucking drink.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
That's all we've got for you right now. Gary's got to run. We thank you for tuning into our podcast. If you're hungry for more, head on over to Gary's Next News Network YouTube channel for the latest news and commentary on current events. Until next time, stay gold.